experienced coach, you help your team get over the hangover effect of that last game and getting ready for a really tough opponent?
Well, let me describe it this way. Virginia has a 22 home game winning streak. They're undefeated at home this year. We've had a very hard time throughout the years of winning there. So, okay, very disappointing the way we played and the way we lost, but, whether you lose by 22 or you lose by 1, it's still a loss, and it's a marathon. All right, so we got to keep plugging away. We're in the last 5 miles of the marathon and trying to gain some momentum. We haven't been able to do that all year in 2024 because of injury. I mean, first it was Nigel, then it was Wooga, then it was Norshad, then it was Matt. Now it's Keyshawn.
How is Keyshawn?
Let's wait for Michelle, because she's going to say, well, I'm sorry I'm late, but what did I miss? I may have asked this, someone may have asked this already. All right, so I'm gonna repeat my answer, okay? So, I was disappointed that we didn't play better at Virginia, but over the years, we've struggled there anyway. They've got a 22 home game winning streak, and they're undefeated this year. I mean, they're a very, very good basketball team, especially at home. Plus, our styles are very, very different. We're much more comfortable in an up-tempo game, and their whole style is to reduce the number of possessions and to grind it out. With that being said, we've not had since January a healthy team that practices and prepares well. We lost Nigel for a couple of weeks, then we lost Wooga, who's still not 100%. We then lost Norshad for the Syracuse game, then we lost Matthew Cleveland. And then the other day we lost Keyshawn, right as the game was beginning. I don't remember what the score was. We were up 7-2.
3:44.
Really early, yeah.
3 minutes in.
Yeah, we're up 7-2, and now the guy who's guarding their leading scorer and best player, Reese Beekman, is out of the game. Okay, now you have to start making adjustments. And as I've said before, one of the biggest challenges this season, and has been throughout, is when we have an injured player, we're not as good. So let's go back. Were we pretty good last year?
I think you're pretty good, yeah.
All right.
Okay, tell me, can you remember the last game before Connecticut, before the Final Four? What was the last game we lost? What game? Duke. What happened in the first 2 minutes of that game? He was out. We're not the same team without Norshad. We lost one home game last year. Anybody remember what it was? All right, who didn't play in that game? Nigel didn't play. We're just, we're not one of those teams that has 8 McDonald's All-Americans and we can just rotate them in and out. We've had a very particular style. You go back even the year before, and Sam Wardenberg and Wooga have COVID, and we have to hope like crazy that Dane Gack can fill in for Sam, because we're starting ACC play without our starting center, and thank goodness he did, and we were able to beat Wake Forest and NC State, but both at home. Right? So injuries is such a huge part of the game, and preparation is such a huge part of the game. I was listening to a Bobby Knight interview from years ago, and he said, people talk about the will to win, but it's really not about the will to win. It's about the will to prepare to win, because all the little details that go into preparation then allows you to perform well. And the great head coach of our football program when we were winning national championships, Jimmy Johnson, I listened to one of his interviews, and he talked about PA plus E equals P. Well, I was dying to know, what does PA plus E equal P? And it was positive attitude plus effort equals performance. And that is really true. But all of that comes in the preparation. you have to be able to plan and then execute the plan. So we got a big game tomorrow. It would have been a big game whether we won on Monday. It's, Carolina's right now, I think, ranked third in the country. And, we've had some great battles with them, including last year and the year before. So hopefully, I'd like to be totally healthy. So to answer about Keyshawn, I don't know yet. He didn't practice yesterday. He's in the training room right now, working on the ankle. Wooga Poplar's walking around in a boot because that ankle is still not 100%. And, there's no do-overs. We can't, postpone the game and say, look, we want to wait until we get healthy.
I guess it's possible you won't have either one of them then tomorrow.
No, I think Wooga practiced.
Oh, he did?
He
Okay.
practiced yesterday.
So the boot is just a,
Precautionary. And what would you call it? A placebo?
oh, okay.
I'm not sure I know the definition of that word, but I think that's appropriate.
It makes him feel better?
Well, it takes the pain away when he's just walking around campus. You're not gonna, you play in it, so as long as your ankle's feeling better while you're walking, you feel good mentally. But if he got his regular shoes on and he's walking from one classroom building to another and that starts to aggravate it, it's like, oh man, because he's not taped. And the thing about a sprained ankle, and I think everybody knows this, even when the swelling goes down, the ankle is not as strong because you damage, most of the time you damage ligaments. And so those ligaments have to heal. And while you're playing, it's hard for them to heal when you're using them. All right? So, those guys get taped, and Sam Johnson, our trainer, does a great job. And we'll put out the best possible team we can tomorrow and hopefully play well.
I want to ask about North Carolina. They're coming off a loss, which maybe is not good for you guys if they're going to be hungry to win. But what did Clemson, did you see anything that Clemson did in Georgia Tech? Those were two teams that were able to beat them. What did you see?
Well, the first thing Clemson did is it jumped out and got ahead. And they made a lot of three-point shots. Now, I don't know the number off the top of my head, but they had a great first half where they led from start to finish. And then in the second half, Carolina made its run, as you would expect, and tied the game up. But Clemson was still, because they had led the whole time, they weren't the team fighting to get back. They were able to execute down the stretch and win a very, very close game. But what's interesting to me, that's only the second time they've beaten Carolina in Chapel Hill
In 60 games.
in 60 years.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah, it was
60.
They were 1-60.
And now they're 2
2
and 60. And that's, so when you say, how did they do it? They played really well.
What are you expecting from the crowd on Saturday? Sold out and everything. What do you expect to boost from them?
Yeah, I hope it's loud and energetic and cheers our guys on. The other day, it was not here, but last Saturday. Who do we play last Saturday? Who?
Virginia Tech.
Virginia Tech. We were down and we started to make our run. And I was, what do you call it? Imploring? Is that a word? Imploring the crowd to get into it and start cheering. They did, and that really helped energize us for those last 5 minutes. So hopefully they can do that for 40 minutes.
To follow about Michelle's question about Carolina, just what sets this Carolina team apart, or just what makes them different than some of the other Carolina teams in the past?
Okay, so if you really look at the history of Carolina, it goes back so far. Dean Smith and the system that he ran, and then Roy Williams, same exact system. Now Hubert Davis is the head coach, and he's kind of added and adjusted some of the things that Carolina is known for. For example, there were many years that Carolina was not only the biggest team in our league, they might have been the biggest team in the country. They played two gigantic guys, and they punished you, and they were the best offensive rebounding team in the country. They're still very good at that. But what they've adjusted offensively is they have some real high-octane scoring guards. And start with R.J. Davis. I mean, in the last 5 games, he's averaging like 25 points. He is one dynamo at the offensive end. So it's not that Carolina didn't have great guards, with the Phil Fords and the Kenny Smiths and a ton of other guys, the Joel Berrys, but R.J. Davis, I'm not sure when the last time their point guard led the team in scoring or averaged over 20 points a game.
What about Baycott? I mean, the fact that he's so good and also that he's older. He's a guy who's been around, decided to come back.
Yeah, he and I think, are the same age. Now, he's just a tremendous role model for other student athletes who decide that education is important. I'm going to stay, I'm going to get my degree, I'm going to stay that 5th year, the loyalty I'm going to show to the Carolina program. It's been good to me, and
Yeah, he came back when they were down.
Yeah,
I mean,
no.
he could have easily just left. Everything was down, and he decided to come back to a team
Yeah.
that had flopped the year
I think he
before.
did what Sam Wardenberg did. Sam felt the same way when I met with Sam Wardenberg after that season where we had a losing year. And I said, well, how are you feeling? He said, well, I'm definitely coming back. I don't want my career to end on a real sour note. When I came here, we were like a Sweet 16 team. I want to get us back there. And he did. We got back to the Sweet 16, but this time around we won. So we got to the Elite Eight now. I think, Baycott's on a mission, and he's doing everything he can. He's sacrificed in certain areas. His scoring numbers are not quite where they've been, but he's still a huge impact on the game, both offensively, defensively, and rebounding.
Against Duke, he did. He had a huge game up.
Yeah,
26 points, I think, yeah.
Jim, just, if you had to use some adjectives to describe your team compared to, how they could be when they're all healthy.
Yeah.
I mean, is it disappointing? Is it frustrating? I mean,
Well, look at it individually. Okay, look at the mirror and say to yourself, when I'm not feeling good, how well do I do? And that's basically where we are. We just haven't been healthy in the entire month of January. And now we start February with an injury. It's, all I can do is, I'm very grateful the last 2 seasons we were able to stay healthy. And I've known throughout my career that if you get a couple of key guys hurt, you're just not going to be as good. And if you get 5 guys hurt at different times, you can't. It'd be one thing if all 5 guys got hurt at the same time, and then you lost some games while they were recovering, and then everybody was healthy for a long stretch. But it hasn't been that way. We're talking about Wooga Poplar's sprained ankle occurred December 29th, and he's still walking around in a boot, trying to get back to 100%. It's just, I'd say rather than frustrating, it's just disappointing for my players, because I know they feel like we can play so much better when we're all healthy. We had a game in November against Kansas State, and we beat them. We played very well, and the other day they beat Kansas. I look at that and I say, well, if we were healthy, where would we be right now in the league standings? Oh,
Jim, any special preparation for Michael Nowoko? I imagine he's going to see some time tomorrow.
I have spent more time with Michael Nowako than I think any player in the last, 4 or 5 years, trying to get him to where he can really contribute. And he's doing better. Will we see it this season? That I don't know.